Dear viewer, good evening and welcome to Spotlight. With me tonight, somebody that I believe and the whole Arab American, the Middle Eastern community believe and know that he is the one who established the community, especially in Michigan. He worked so hard to build the bridges between the Arab American and the community at large. He served for many, many, many years, not just the Arab American, the Middle Eastern community, but the community at large. And of course, the whole community, the whole Middle Eastern, the Arab community in Michigan and in the nation know Ish Ahmed. Ish, welcome to MEA.
Thank you so much,
welcome to
Wally,
our
for having
studio.
me back.
And it's so pleasure, so honor to have you come in here to do the interview, because honestly, when I look back, and I know you probably for about 25, 30 years, the service you give to the community it's so much, so much. Honestly, when the community was small, when the community wanted to grow, you were there for them. You help them in every way possible. And what we see today, the community with a huge purchase power have all the effect through the society, if it's business, if it's politics, if it's social, is the work of people like you. We thank you very much for this service.
Oh, you're too kind. You give me too much credit.
I'm just saying the truth.
We got a wonderful community, people who work hard every day and assure that their children move forward and, you know, bring business to the larger community and
Yes.
respect to our community for the work they do, whether they're doctors or lawyers or factory workers. I'm so proud to be a part of the Middle Eastern community.
Thank you. For the few people who doesn't know Ish Ahmed, I know majority they know you. Can you give us how you start, when you start, how was the community and when you start bringing it to the society, to the American society?
Well, again, you give me too much credit, but let me just tell you a little bit about
Sure.
my background. You know, my mother was Lebanese. Her family homesteaded in South Dakota before it was a state.
Wow.
My father was an Egyptian immigrant who came here at 10 years old by himself, entered the country without papers, and became a citizen because of his service in World War II.
Wow.
Later, I was raised by a Yemeni stepfather, so I've always
Combination of the whole Arab world.
I've always been pan-Arab, whether it's people who are Middle Easterners like Chaldeans, or Egyptians or Lebanese or Palestinians.
Yes.
We all come from a culture and a background worth respecting. And so my parents were poor. They worked in the auto factories. My grandfather worked in the Ford factory in Dearborn, and so did my father. I worked for 12 years in the auto factory on the shop floor. And spent 15 years getting through college because I worked in auto, I worked on overseas freighters, I served in the U.S. Army, and so it took me a while to get through, and we didn't have much money. Yes. But the thing that I learned is that public education made all that possible, and hard work. And that's the story of our community. And so for me, you know, I then founded Access.
Tell me about how you found Access.
Well,
which is
I
now
didn't do it by
the largest,
myself.
You know, go ahead.
I didn't do it by myself, you know. Whenever you want to do something good, you work with a group of people.
Yes.
And there were about 20 of us. We bought a building, took the money out of our pockets, and started helping immigrants. And then we started helping everybody who couldn't afford things. So we read their papers and
Middle Eastern,
taught
American,
English.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and now Access, I was their director for 36 years.
Wow.
Access is one of the largest, in fact, is the largest Arab human service agency in the country. It's in 25 cities. It has, you know, clinics and mental health programs and youth programs and environmental programs.
Doing a great service to the community.
It's doing great work. And also there are several other great groups doing work in the community, like the Chaldean Foundation,
Yes.
the
ACC.
Arab American
Yeah.
Chaldean Council,
Council, yes.
many others. And so we were part of that movement to
Mhm.
provide service to our people. And then I got a phone call from the governor of Michigan,
Mhm.
Jennifer Granholm.
Granholm, yes.
Yeah, and she said to me, "You guys do such good work. I want you to run the Michigan Department of Human Services." Now,
Yes.
the Michigan Department of Human Services,
It's a
for
huge-
people who don't know,
Mhm.
is a multi-billion-dollar operation
Yes.
that does everything from child welfare to welfare for low-income families, to
Women's and
Medicaid. It
marriage,
signs people up for that. It
Yes.
signs people up for Social Security. It's a huge bureaucracy. So I wasn't in a hurry to do that. I love my community,
Yes.
and I didn't want to leave to do that. But the more I talked to her, the more I realized that there are 2 million poor people
Wow.
in Michigan, many of them immigrants.
Mhm.
And though the immigrant community has done well, it
But
also
still,
has
the
poor people too.
newcomer, you know, they
Right.
have that problem.
So this was
Yes.
an opportunity to do something for those people on a scale that helped millions of people. So I did that for a while, and now I'm at the University of Michigan, Dearborn. I was the associate provost there, which is one of the people that leads the university.
Yes.
I cut back now. I'm working part-time there, but I'm still working on trying to help inner city youth, Middle Eastern young people,
Yes.
African Americans, Latinos, to become the leaders of the city, people who come out of the neighborhoods. And so we have this program that aims to provide 1,000 young leaders for the city of Detroit over 10 years. So I'm still working
See,
on
this
things.
is the things that you involve who make you so great serving the community, honestly, because you come with all that ideas, and I follow you for the past 25 years, and you are involved in so many. I
Yeah.
mean, every time I see an organization or movement to help the poor, to help the needies, to help not just the Middle Eastern, not just the Arab American, no, the whole community at large.
Yeah.
I see you involved
Well,
and
thank
taking
you.
the lead.
Thank you. I
And-
try
and-
to
and
I try to
honestly,
do
this
things.
this is great, you know.
Yeah.
This is great.
So now I'm trying to do something new.
Yes, that's what I was going to come to it. Go ahead.
Let me look people in the face.
Yes.
My name is Ahmed, and I'm running for the State Board of Education.
Okay.
And that's very important to me.
Why that you picked this position?
You know, the one thing I've learned after all of these years, that there's two things that are important to the Middle Eastern community,
Yes.
but also to all working people. And one of them is public education.
Absolutely.
Really, poor people, working people, immigrants really don't have a real chance unless they're able to make use of public education. And the second one is I've learned that we have to fight for a seat at the table. So we have to be at the table making
Absolutely.
decisions.
Yes.
Arab Americans, African Americans, Latinos,
Latino,
and we
yes.
have to fight for that to happen. This gives me an opportunity to fight for public education, to develop policy for public education statewide. It gives me the opportunity to stand up and tell people in the community to join us and to fight for the best schools possible. Do you know in Michigan, we are one of the lowest funders per pupil of education in the entire United States?
From the federal, you mean?
Across this country,
Cross, yeah.
okay, the money that we put in from
Yes.
the state
Yes.
in
the education.
in public education makes us 49th out
Wow.
of 50 states.
Wow. Wow.
Also, the formula that we have, you know, we act like we provide equal education, but we don't. You know, if you, for instance, live in Detroit, 1/3 of the children are physically or learning disabled. It costs more money to
Yes,
teach them.
Of course.
If you don't speak English and you're a new immigrant or a refugee, it costs more money.
Yes.
And yet, the formula that they fund doesn't take that into consideration. So many school districts that have new immigrants, that have low income people,
Yes.
that have kids with transportation problems, are less able to invest in the education part itself. So we have to change the formula. And finally, you know, with all due respect, we have a right-wing legislature
Yes.
that has been not only underfunding, but undercutting public education. The one thing
All
that makes
public
it
service.
possible.
All public service.
Yeah.
Cut, and give it to the rich.
That's exactly
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Now, I know I sound like a normal Democrat.
Well,
you
we-
know,
we
too
most of
many
us.
corporate
Yes.
loopholes,
Tax breaks and all that, yeah.
and not
Yeah.
enough for the poor people.
That's
But I
right.
actually believe that. In education, it's completely true.
Absolutely. Most important. If you educate the community, you will have a good future for that community.
So for our
Yeah.
community in particular, it's
Yes.
really important. And we have not been mobilized around this yet, and we really have to. We've got refugees coming in from Iraq. We've
Syria,
got
Iraq,
Syrian
yeah.
refugees,
Yeah.
and we've
Yemenis,
got to, and look at Yemen right now.
Yes.
So what we need to do is gear up for that.
Yes.
The state needs to fund the extra dollars to make that happen, just like they have to do with the developmentally disabled, as they have to do with kids who don't have transportation or are low income. So for me, this is a really important fight. It is the most important thing to focus on in our society right now.
Which is such very, very important issue to all community.
Right.
How Michigan Board of Education, how could affect the local board? I mean, each city have their local board of education and all that. How that relation, how you going to affect them to go in the right direction?
That's
or
a
to
good
invest the money that you give them in the school. And we see what happened in Detroit, the scamming and all that.
Yeah, I think, let's take Detroit.
Yes.
There was some misuse of money in Detroit, but that's not what the problem was in Detroit. The problem in Detroit was the underfunding of education. For instance, the state appointed an emergency manager.
Yeah.
The deficit happened under the emergency manager,
Wow.
not
That
before
even
that.
Worse.
Yeah, so the state is responsible for that cost. And frankly, it still hasn't stepped up to fix it. The governor has talked about, oh, I fixed it. The legislature has, but they put a little Band-Aid on it, and it's going to break open and bleed again. So we really have to protect our children, not only in Detroit, but in rural areas.
Of course, all
across.
Yeah.
You
But
sh-
how you affect it? Because there is a school board
Okay,
for
so-
each city.
So
you know.
the state school board has a role.
Okay.
There are three entities that affect schools: the legislature,
Okay.
who provide the money.
Yes.
They make the money decisions.
Okay.
And I have worked with both Democratic
Of
and
course,
Republican
throughout your
legislatures,
life, you know.
so I know how to do that.
Okay.
The second is the State Board of Education,
Okay.
and they make policy for all of the schools in the state, and not just K through 12, but also for universities.
Wow.
So we set the policy, we set the general curriculum.
Okay.
Okay. In addition to that, we hire and fire the superintendent of education. So we're able to use the bureaucracy, the education bureaucracy, to affect the outcomes.
So honestly,
and then
start
the
with your
third thing-
board to the go ahead.
The third thing
Yes.
is it's a wonderful opportunity from a position of power to talk to the people about what's wrong and what's right and what they have to do. The third entity is the local school boards and the local schools.
Yes.
Honestly, the legislature continues to take power from them. And so I believe that we have to put the public back into public education. Parents should have a say in the education of their
Absolutely,
children.
yeah.
Principals should have a say in the curriculum.
And they know better. The local,
teachers
you know, yeah.
should be able to be creative in the classroom. We're taking all that away from them, and we need to put some of that power back down there. But we also need to hold the districts responsible for the outcomes of our children, but we need to do it in the right way. We can't just make tests and say, meet that test.
Yes.
We have to work with them
Yes.
to make sure that the policy works. And we have to work with the parents and the teachers. And so from my point of view, there's much to be done in that area. And that's part of why I'm running for the State Board of Education.
See.
You know, one of the things is, you know, my name is Ismail Ahmed.
Yes.
You know, I'm running as Ish Ahmed
And statewide.
statewide
Yes.
for state school board. And because of that,
Yes.
you know, because of that, it's a little bit of an uphill fight.
That's right.
But I don't mind that. I've fought all my life for what's right, and I'm going to continue to do that.
And you proved that many, many times.
Well, thank you.
Statewide, you mentioned, and yes, in South, in the Tri-County area, Southeast Michigan, Ish Ahmed is a legend in serving the community,
Yeah.
honestly. But how you relay your message to the people in up north, in the west side, and you know, how are you doing that?
Well, I'm trying to do
And
that.
you mentioned as an ethnic minority, we have to work twice as much to approve ourselves.
That's right. We have to work to be respected in a way that others don't. Just like
Yes.
African Americans and
Latino and
Latinos
yeah.
and
Yes.
others have to. We have to be twice as good. So one, I try to be twice as good, but more important, you have to get your message out. So I have people across the street, across the state,
Yes.
who are friends, who I've worked with, who are helping me, like you,
Oh,
to
I
get
am-
out the word.
We belong to you.
Thank you, thank you. You're very kind. I do want to talk about something that's related to this.
Absolutely.
You know, the truth is that this is one race, and now I'm going to be a little bit partisan, so please excuse me.
Absolutely.
But, you know, every year they tell you this is a really important national election, and you have to choose either Tweedledee or Tweedledum.
Yes.
You know, and there's not that much difference really. You know, this election actually is, I believe, a fight for the heart and soul of America.
Yes.
Will we be a diverse society? Will we respect each other? Will men respect women? Will we make room for those that we don't agree with? And honestly, right now we're hearing from the top of the Republican ticket, and many others are being unleashed who are saying there's no room for Arabs or Muslims
Or women,
or
or
Middle
ethnic
Easterners
minorities, or
or
nothing.
Mexicans
Yes.
or women.
Yes.
I mean, we got a guy, and I don't even want to say it on the air, who has done horrible things and said horrible things about women, and he's running for the president of the United States. My belief is that that has to be defeated so badly that they crawl back into the dark where they came, and whatever they think, they at least don't say it anymore. And so I really believe that Americans of all types, including our Middle Eastern community, has to really work hard to get out the message that this is a society where everyone must be respected. This is a society where we all contribute, especially the Middle Eastern community. This is a society where we respect women.
Yes.
You know, this is a society where whether you're Mexican and legal or illegal, you have rights and respect. So we have a long way to go to get to that place, but I really think that we've got to send a really strong message this year. That's also part of why I'm running for the State Board of Education.
Honestly, Ish, and especially you running for Board of Education, to educate our children to be a good manner, a good education. And the children, they hear, and what they hear about what Trump is doing, about abusing women, abusing, you know, sex. I don't want to say it, but
I don't even want to say it on the air.
How could we put his pictures in a school with children that they know he did this and did this? I mean, it's disgusting, honestly.
Yeah.
But again, let's go back as a Democrat. How you think that will help you?
Well, I
mean, a
think
lot of people, they're going to shy after that from even voting. But the people who's going to vote they're going to think 10 times before they vote what this guy is all about.
Well, I think there's going to be a big Democratic victory,
Yes.
and that will help someone with a name that sounds strange
Why?
up in northern Michigan.
that's right.
Because I think it's going to be a referendum
Okay.
on equality and inclusion, and I think there are a lot of good people
Voting
out there.
party line, is that going to help you? Vote
I
all
think-
Democrat or all Republican?
I think voting straight Democratic this time
Yes.
will send a huge message.
Exactly.
And they tried to get rid of straight party voting. We've been to court 4 times, and we beat them every single time.
Right.
So there will be straight party in Michigan, so you can vote for Michigan State Board of Education, but you can vote for a lot of great progressive people. You know, I don't have anything against Republicans. I've worked with Republicans all my life, and there are good Republicans, but I think this time we have to send a message. But more important, those of you who are out there that are thinking of sitting out the election, don't make that mistake. Evil only wins when you let it, and your vote does matter.
And that's exactly the message, Ish. And yes, a lot of them, they're disgusting, and more than 40% of the Republican parties, they vote against him. You know,
Yeah.
they don't like him. They don't like to see him come as president.
These are reasonable people.
Absolutely, and he's
Yeah.
going to hurt them, you know. But this is the message I want you to repeat saying it. Please go ahead and vote, because if you see this kind of thing and you said, you know what, I'm not going to vote, it's going to hurt people like you, you know.
So I was talking to Bernie Sanders the other day.
Yes.
You know, Bernie Sanders ran against Hillary Clinton, right?
Yes.
He had differences. They sat down and worked out their differences
it should be.
and developed a platform together. So Hillary Clinton may not be perfect. Bernie Sanders isn't perfect. But at least we have reasoned, experienced people who are saying we can represent this country and the little man. We have to make the right decision. Now, I'm not telling people who to vote for, but I'm saying think before you vote, and no matter what you do, please, please vote.
Okay. In avoiding, and in your campaign, let's talk about your campaign. Do you have enough fundraising? You've been serving the community, as I said, for the past 30, 40 years. And I'm pretty sure if you ask for volunteer, they come by thousand. Did you reach the community, not the Middle Eastern community or Arab American and Chaldean, but outside the community to help you, to volunteer in your campaign, to have a fundraising for you?
So let me be honest with
Yes.
you. When you run statewide,
Yeah.
it's like running for the U.S. Senate.
Because
That's a $20 million campaign. I love my community, but we're not going to raise $20 million. And I'm not going to raise $20 million for a state board of education race.
Okay.
And so I have to rely on party voting and friends to help. And so if you want to help, you can go to our website. It's www.ismail, I-S-M-A-E-L, Ahmed, AHMED.com. And we could use volunteers, we could use donations, you can make one online. But most of all, tell your friends.
Yes.
Use social media to say, hey, there's a good candidate out there. We're relying on a street campaign, a street level campaign. We're relying on the people because we don't have the money to do this.
yeah, honestly, for us as an MEA, we are in your service, because
you.
the
Thank
reason
you.
I'm not just giving it to you because what you did to us. Probably MEA wouldn't exist if it wasn't for your hard work.
Oh, no,
to
that's
put the-
not true,
Believe
Wally.
me, to put the
It's your
community
hard
in this
work.
level. The community in this level. We serve the community. It wasn't for this community. You took it to this level. We wouldn't be exist. And especially social media you mentioned. And we are great in social media. And we have all those young people that they are social media. What's your message to them? Because I think those are the one who could deliver to you.
Well, I think young people in particular have a stake.
Yes.
Because it's our children and our future, and it's their future in particular. There's no reason a young person should come out of university owing hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's no reason that the cost of universities should be so high. We used to fund universities
Yes.
at 80%, and 20% came out of tuition. Now it's reversed.
Well, and
80%
every
is
year
to
an increase.
you have to come up with the 80%, and there's only 20% that comes, and most of that's from the Fed. So the truth is, we have to invest in education. We can't put it on the backs of our young people. So me, I'm for early education universally. We don't
Wow.
have it universally. I'm for parenting programs to help parents to work with their kids to be successful in school. I'm for free tuition, at least in the first 2 years of college, and assuring that those that owe money for student loans are able to pay those loans in a reasonable way. And right now we don't have that. So our young people have
That's
a
great.
lot at stake.
Yes.
But more than that, they have their future at stake.
Yes.
This election, including the school board election, is about their future in this world, their opportunity to make this the kind of world we all want to live in. I have a lot of faith in young people.
Absolutely. They are their future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me, I know you talked a lot about the community, but give me 2 minutes. Straight to the community. What do you want from them? And especially you seen the community came from few thousand to 450,000, from small neighborhood city to all Tri-County area. And with this a strong community economically, politically, socially. Give me in 2 minutes what's your message to them.
Okay, so first of all, let me say that it doesn't matter whether you're Egyptian or Chaldean or Lebanese or Kurd or Palestinian or Yemeni. What's important is that we have to stand up for each other, and we have to stand up for our future in America and America's future, everybody's future. So what does that take? That takes assuring that we have a president that cares about what happens in our lives. It takes voting for people from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket who are progressive and believe in inclusion and a place for us at the table. It takes learning about who the candidates are and assuring that when you vote for somebody, they're going to make a difference. But most of all, it means that we have to make it clear that in America, we respect and work with each other. And the electoral arena is one way to do it, but it's not the only way. In the end, it's those of us who work at the street level, whether it's in the media or in nonprofits or in the schools or in the factories, we all have to come together, because real change comes from the bottom up, not the top down. Unemployment came from the bottom up. Unions came from the bottom up. And I could go on. The civil rights movement came from the bottom up. And it wasn't one big leader like they teach us in school. It was thousands of us working to make life better. So join the ranks. Join the fight for a better America. Vote, but then get out there and organize as well. And I'll help you.
Thank you very much, and good luck for your campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
kindness.
My pleasure. Dear reviewer, that was my interview with Ahmed, the person who devoted his life to serve the community, the person that he was involved in not just the Middle East, not just the Arab and the Chaldean, with every organization that their mission is to help the people. He was there with them hand in hand, helping. This community, you see, that we are so proud of it, and the strong economically, politically. It comes because people like Ish Ahmed devote their life and their service and away from their family to serve this community and take it to this level. So please, at the election, don't forget the people who serve us so well. I want you to go and as Ish said, vote, because that's the most important things. But when you vote, vote for the right people. You see in the media, you see in the trash happening with this election, national election, and don't let that to make you shy from going to go and vote. Please go and vote, and go vote for the right people. And throughout my involvement in this community, I don't see more deserved people, more passionate people about this community like Ish Ahmed.
So Wally, just one other thing.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm not running by myself. I'm running with a man called John Austin.
Okay.
And I ask you to vote for him as well, because one person on a board doesn't change anything. John's been on that board for a long time, and he's provided good leadership. So remember to vote for John Austin and Ish Ahmed for State Board of Education.
Thank you very much. Dear viewer, thank you. And again, don't forget to go on November 8th to vote, and vote for the right people. And of course, Ish Ahmed and John Austin, they serve us so well. And they prove over and over and over in every mission they took, they serve us so well. So please go ahead and vote for them. Thanks for watching, and good night.